you how to make snickerdoodle cookies. These are my favorite cookies. They're real light and airy, so you can probably eat like 12 of them without even noticing. Like every time you walk through the kitchen, you just grab 2. Everyone should make these cookies. They're really easy. I enjoy baking. I find it like a stress reliever, and whenever I'm doing homework or something like that and I don't want to do it anymore, I just go to the kitchen and bake something, and I find it a stress reliever. And you should make these cookies because they're really easy. You probably have everything that you need for these cookies already in your pantry, so they're quick. And I've been baking for years now. My mom is one of those people that will bake like for 4 days straight during Christmas time, so I've been around baking a lot. And so now I'm just going to go through the steps to show you how to make these cookies. You want to start off with a stick of butter. This has been sitting out a while, so it's already soft, and that's what you want to do. Just open it. And then I usually use a spatula to begin with to kind of mush things up. And since it's already soft and been sitting out for about an hour, it's real easy to do that. Mush it up. And then you want to add a cup of sugar to that, and it's already measured out. So when I was figuring out how to make this, I was like, well, I'll just make like a half batch, but it only calls for 1 egg, so that might have not have worked so well. And you want to mix it all together and kind of cream it together to make sure like all the sugar's mixed in with the butter. When I was reading about this on the internet, I found that these cookies weren't in like early American cookbooks, and when they started popping up in cookbooks, they were all in like Midwestern cookbooks. So that's maybe why I like them, because I've lived in Indiana all my life. So once you get it mixed up, it will kind of look like this, if you guys can see it all. And then your next step is to add your baking soda and cream of tartar, and that's the only thing you might not have in your pantry is cream of tartar. And normally is what it's used for is like making like your egg whites peak up and be real stiff. And when I was looking at these recipes on the internet, I wanted to know what it was because I've used it before, but I've never really, thought much about it. And everything else is normal things that you would have in your kitchen. But this is actually, cream of tartar is actually a byproduct of the wine making industry, which I thought it was really interesting. And like I thought more about how, like, why would something left over from the wine making industry be put into food, but I didn't go into it that far. Next, you're gonna use 1 egg in this. You want to crack your egg. And then you're gonna want to use a half a teaspoon of vanilla. And once again, you want to mix that in real nice and make sure it's all creamy. And then Scott actually told me that you can put almond extract in this instead of vanilla, and it would give it a nice almond flavor. And also reading about this on the internet, when they first started to like show up in recipe books, they usually had like nuts or dried fruit in these cookies, but I don't like nuts, so I don't put them in here. And now it will kind of look like this, and make sure it's going to be like real, there's a lot of flour. There's a cup and a half of flour that goes into this, so it has to have enough liquid in it to make sure it's not all crumbly. And then now you're going to put a cup and a cup and a half of flour in, and you're going to do it a little bit at a time to make sure, you get it all mixed in really well. I'm one of those people at home, when I use a hand mixer, I'll dump it all in all at once, and then turn, like I just did, and turn the mixer on high, and then flour goes everywhere. But, you think I would learn my lesson, but I find it probably more entertaining than I do having to clean the mess up. So you want to mix that in really well. Like I said, a little bit at a time. Try not to make the mess like I do. And this is probably when, like I usually use a spatula for most of it. This is when you want to use a wooden spoon because it becomes really hard to mix. Mix it in. Like I said, the cream of tartar will give it like a lighter texture to it. So these, you know how chocolate chip cookies can be real dense sometimes. These will be really light and airy. And once it's all mixed together, ideally you're gonna wanna put it in the refrigerator for an hour and let it cool. And this will kind of like let everything sit together and kind of form together. And then you need to roll these into balls, which I'll do a little bit later. But it will make it easier to handle the dough so it doesn't stick to your hand. So once it's all mixed together, we're gonna use, food TV magic and pretend I stuck it in the refrigerator and pulled it out and it's all nice and cold. And then you're gonna wanna take 4 tablespoons of sugar and 1.5 teaspoons of cinnamon. And the recipe calls to put it in a bowl, but I usually put it in a bag because then I can just roll it and dump it in the bag and then shake it instead of messing it around. So then you want to take your dough, you're going to want like an inch ball around, not too big, not too small. So like that, you're going to want to put it in there, close it up. You can put in, like I use a really big one, and shake it around. And then you're going to want to put it on an ungreased baking pan because there's, a stick of butter in here already. So it's not going to stick when you put it in. And you do this, and I usually do 12 on one of these size sheets. And you want to bake it at 375 for 11 minutes is what the recipe calls for. But my oven's a little bit crazy. So I only bake the ones that I made, I only bake them for 7 minutes. You just want to watch them and make sure when they turn golden brown and kind of start to crack is when you want to take them out. So that's it, and I have some for you to try. Over, you can pass these around. Once again, these are really easy cookies to make. As you can see, it didn't take me a long time. All these ingredients you probably have already in your pantry, so they're really easy to make, and I find them as a stress reliever. That's it.